Yeah, hi everyone, Miss Nair back again. Again, I'm just going to share with you my ECU assignment that I did. It is TCHR 4004 theory chart. It's just again different various theories that we learned. This is very important theories. They're all highly researched and processed. And when you learn this theories, you can have a better understanding of the behavior and how each and every individual is just not the students, even adults, how why do we respond the way we respond, and the different stages of our life and things like that. So it's very in depth. If you learn and you understand the process, you actually understand why people behave the way they behave, why kids how kids are getting developed, how what kind of understanding they have in each stage. It's really fun, and it's really important to understand as a teacher how the growth and the life cycle actually is going on. So I really enjoyed this ECU course of um, different varieties of theories, from constructivism to behavior to cognitive development, etc. So I'm just going to slowly scroll through. Um, Once we read the PowerPoint, we were asked to just jot down a few points just to have an understanding as soon as you hit. So for example, if somebody is asking about social cognitive skills, right? So I could always go to my column where I jotted some notes around it. So like behavior learning, again, I've put some notes about Skinner and Watson, and so on and so forth. So Vygotsky's social and cultural cognitive theory development and the zone of proximal development, things like that. So it's just for you to have an understanding at a glance. And these icons that I created, they were fun. It took some while to put them together, but that was really fun way of learning. And this course that I've been taking from ECU, believe me, there are tons and tons of things that I learned in just this one whole year. And I'm not even sure it's done, because it will never be done, because this is towards the progress of human beings, like how we are trying to develop and understand each and every stage of our life. It's really interesting that this is something which even teachers have to understand and incorporate and figure out on a daily basis. So it was surprising, but we all did it. And so here, part two, using the sample below as an example, complete the chart for three theories that resonate with you. Note important components of each theory along with an application of each. So you could choose different theories, whichever the teacher just wants us to choose three of them. We choose that, and this is a sample that they gave, which was um, see, it's highlighted here. So that the sample they gave, and then that was my first constructive learning. Second one I selected was social cognitive skills, and then third that I selected was cognitive development. Fourth one, it was not needed. I just was going through it, so I just put information, because I towards the end, when I saw informational processing, I wanted to add that because I really liked that. So I just added it. I'm not sure that I got credit for that, but yes, those three other things that I did. This was really interesting, this about knowing how there are different kind of theories, and people have actually gone in depth to research and put it together. That was really interesting. And then the third column was when you select something with theory, how did you incorporate it in your classroom? For example, constructive learning, the theory that the child's learning is an active participation in construction of knowledge. Knowledge is not given but constructed. So, and then I had to take that and then incorporate it in my classroom. That's the main thing, right? So the sixth grade, my class was sixth grade. As I'm thinking about inquiry-based learning and project-based learning, where students will observe a whole apple. So this I did genuinely. I did this as a lesson plan in my class. So um, will observe a whole apple, that's sample number one, and then observe a cut apple, which is sample number two. They will then discuss with their friends at their table to answer why sample number two is reddish brown on the cut side and what caused it. They will then further investigate what ingredients can be used to stop the cut apple from turning brown. students will then get introduced with scientific methods, and students will identify the steps based on the above project. At this point, teacher will introduce graphic organizer for students to see the steps. This, I did it as is in my class. The students were then getting introduced with graphic organizers, because obviously these kids were kids who just moved up to 6th grade. So they were introduced with graphic organizer, and that too for the scientific method. So it was very interesting to see how they were trying to figure out which is the first step of scientific method, which is the second step of scientific method, and things like that. And they also wanted to see why the apple was red. So it was their investigation, they did it, and they came out with a solution. It was very interesting. So this was also like I think it's the third or the fourth week that we did it. No, the second week that we did. So it was very interesting, and the kids really liked it. For me as a teacher, when I see that, as a science teacher, my main goal was always to do project-based work rather than theory. I'm I'm not a person who would put a video and then ask, okay, I put a video, I have a set of questions, but that cannot be everyday's business. So that's where I had to try harder to put my kids into that mode, that okay, we are going to watch few minutes of video, you have few questions to answer, but then let's just continue doing the project. And that project every day was not working. Like we could not we could not update having a project or a hand, you know um, a live experiment that we could do every day. That was not something, we did not come as planned, but to the max I tried to do some kind of experiment each day, based on um, experiment or modeling each day based on what the topic was. So that's that. And then the second thing that I selected was social cognitive. In 6th grade classroom, students will encounter with a lot of vocabulary, and that was sure, because my kids who came from 5th grade to the 6th grade, the two things that I found they were not up to the mark was, first, with the vocabulary, and second, the reading of comprehension. So when they read a comprehension, they do read it, but they are not able to highlight, annotate, or they cannot refer and go back and refer as to how to compare and contrast. So they lack these things. So that's something which was very shocking. The lagging, not the lagging part, the part that the vocabulary was not up to the mark. They could not put the spellings down, things like that, small things. And then they are not ready to read the passage, and even if they're ready to read the passage, they are not able to have a correct understanding of what the passage meant. So that's where, as a first year teacher, it was a little bit shocking, and but I felt that I had to step in to do something for that. So again, each student will be given a worksheet with pictures and words. So what I did was I gave them the pictures and the words, and they had to figure out, okay, so this picture is saying something, what is the word which is connected to that. Students are grouped in 4, teachers model how to work on the vocabulary. And here, this is with the help of ECU again, I found that the Freyer's model helps the kids to get these vocabularies in their notebook in a very organized way. And this, I really, really liked it. However, to put a 5th grader who just moved into 6th grade to follow that pattern, that was time taking. Not everybody was ready to do that, but those kids who did it had a complete understanding of that word, and also they knew what was the example, the one major point about that word. So kids who took time to do it did it, but there were kids who were just not ready, because that was too much for them as they moved into the 6th grade. So that's something which, again, as a teacher, we have to work through their vocabulary, their comprehension, and ability to read the comprehension and comprehend what that means. So that's something, again, I have been working with them along with the introduction of this graphic organizer. um, for scientific method, we had a different graphic organizer, but most of the time my kids used Freyer's model, because they could put the word in the middle and then try to get the as much amount of vocabulary they can. the third development that I put in my assignment was cognitive development. So again, I am going to just read through this. As the new school year starts, it is very difficult for students to learn new behavior. As a teacher, we must model the behavior till they learn and introduce assignments which will make sure that they are proficient at the stage of cognitive development. As a sixth grade teacher, I teach children who are around 11, 12 years old, correct? So as a result, I have to prepare students to be adapted to the operational stage. So that means that, which means that I introduce assignments such as cause and effect, you know, to understand, to add, to analytically understand what the passage means, to compare and contrast, and to create Venn diagrams, right? So these skills have to be put in place, but for them to develop, it has to take its own stage, right? Slowly and logically, they have to understand, they have to reason why is that the earth mantle is having a different kind of materials when compared to outer core and inner core. They have to process the facts. So these the processing, it takes a while. And we as a teacher, if we can give them small projects which will actually help them understand the core concepts and it can be registered, that would be the best part during the cognitive development stage here. And that is something which we did. I cannot say it went completely 100%, but yes, the kids, some kids were there who were struggling. Some kids could, get through it very easily, and some kids really had a fun time in comparing and contrasting and reading the passage and trying to figure out what that word means and putting it in the phrase model and so and forth. So it was a good experience for the kids as well as for the teacher. However, concentrating on the vocabulary and concentrating on their reading skills is more important in sixth grade rather than anything else. So, and then of course, informational processing, like how I said, I was only supposed to do 3, but I was a little bit interested and leaning towards how I can incorporate that as a classroom work. So for that, this is what I did. Reading comprehension is very important even in science classes. Students add on more vocabulary as they enter into the middle school. It is a must that teachers do open reading and closed reading to the entire class. I did this. The open reading and the closed reading, I did it in the classroom. However, when we read, the kids try to listen and understand, but for them to answer back, which means that their attention span should be that strong enough that at least when we complete one passage, they're able to answer the questions. So in that one passage, when you do something, you need to know that those passage, when a teacher is reading the passage has to be very crisp, short, for the students to actually analytically think and observe the answers. So here there was a little bit of discrepancy because kids were all over the place, and I think they will take some time to understand what and how things can be done. So having said that, this was my again other ECU project that I did, and this I'm just uploading this project in the YouTube for you guys to just have an understanding of how to start and where to start and how to go about it. So if you really like it, please make sure that you like my videos. Thank you.